These two silencers here are identical. A SAK silencer, SAK. I say they're identical, except for one very strange difference. This one has 3 Allen screw to attach, grub screws we call them. Strange thing is, this has 3, one at each end, another one there, and that uses a 2.5mm Allen key. The second one, it uses a larger Allen key, a 3mm, into a single grub screw. There is none others, just this one here. Although there's a slight difference with that, the rest is basically the same. The internals being identical. Well, close to being identical anyway. As you see, I've left the grub screws in, one there, none other on the other side, just the one single grub screw there. This one, there's 2 grub screws, one there, and one on the other side. But if you line them up, as you see, the makeup is virtually identical. A very slight difference on this one, just a slight amount of difference. Try and put it together. As you see, the internal space is just a little bit greater with this one, been machined down a little bit more. But all it is a monocore system, several holes drilled through sideways. This one being turned down a little bit more to leave a bit more gap in there, a little bit more space. These get incredibly dirty, and all I do is just use a simple hand brush using brass and a bore brush, any size will do. Just get in the nooks and crannies of these holes, but a good clean down. I find it's very important to keep these clean. If you intend to dismantle them and clean them at all, I suggest you do it fairly often. Once clean, what I do, some welding anti-spatter spray. Give it all a quick squirt once everything's cleaned off. Get all this crud off, give it a quick squirt, and then it just makes it just that little bit easier to get the crud off next time. Also, to this area here, where the outer tube slides over, I applied just a small amount of copper grease, and a small amount of copper grease to the threads of the grub screw as well. One thing that is fairly important that you ought to know about these is the monocore, the tube, they're very slightly tapered. To dismantle them, you note that the muzzle end of the gun fits into there. That's the exit end of the silencer, and the tube is a tight fit as you see there. It won't go on. Turn it round. Now, I've just made a mistake. That was the tube for the single grub screw one. So there is some difference after all. Here is the proper outer sleeve. The 3-1 slides on that way. Doesn't slide on that way. Won't fit. So when you're dismantling, what you need to realise, I'll just take this screw out to show you. What you need to realise, it's one way to put together and take apart. Bit of grease on there would obviously help, but when you're taking it off, you slide the outer tube away from the part that screws onto the barrel. I'll just give that a check with that. This is a 3-screw outer tube. This is the single screw monocore. doesn't fit. Really tight. The 3-screw version with the single screw outer tube, it's tight there, and for some reason it's tight on here as well. I'm not quite sure what to make out of that. So all I can add, if you've got several SAKs, don't dismantle them and try and reassemble them at the same time. Make sure you keep everything separate. Quick spray with the anti-spatter. Little bit of grease, keep everything moving. Keep everything nice and smooth. Either that or just use it and forget it. I should give it a try out in the field and we'll see what it sounds like. There we are, ready assembled, ready to go. One thing I will say though before I start shooting is the way to get these off, I found, especially if I'm a bit stuck, hard bit of plastic or a bit of wood, place it on the ground, the exit end for the silencer, grasp the silencer firmly, the exit end for the silencer, strike the wood or the plastic. Keep on repeatedly knocking it. If it only moves a small amount, turn it over, tap the sleeve back on again. Back over, keep on repeating that. Eventually it will move, start sliding. Some people boil them in a pan of water, try and soften the crud up. Some people with a bit of blue tack or tape, similar, seal the end there. And I've heard they pour Coca-Cola into it, but I should imagine it would seep out of there, so perhaps they mean they soak it in a pan of Coke or something like that. The easiest thing to do is when you buy these new or get one second hand, before you use it, strip it. Make sure you're trying to knock the sleeve from the gun muzzle end to the exit end. Make sure you're knocking the sleeve off that way. I would dismantle it, clean it, or if it's a new one, bit of copper grease on it. Makes the job a lot easier next time. Now let's give it a try. What I should do with the SAK, first of all, at close range to the camcorder, I'll fire one shot with a CB long. That being a low powered round, it should show up as being quite a good silencer, being quiet. If the CB long sounds loud, I won't be very happy. I should then do 2 shots at 60 yards with these Ely hollow point subsonics. 60 yards is my normal zeroing range, and as I use these Ely subsonics for hunting rabbits, I'll find out what sort of noise the rabbits can hear when I'm using these. Let's see what happens. Give it a try with the rifle. Let's just find out how good these SAKs are.